So I saw something when I was in the shop at today that really made me smile and giggle a little bit. Today's military, I guess you can call it a little less traditional. Um, Obviously, the military is an ever-evolving, ever-changing force, and that's fine. I respect change. I welcome change. However, the change that I had been seeing over these last few years being in the military, I can honestly say that I'm pretty sure the majority of you would agree that our military was pretty much going down the crapper. So, today I kind of like to call today's military the era of the self-entitled. You know, what does that mean? Well, that basically means exactly how it sounds. These soldiers coming up through basic training, things of that nature, once they get out of basic training, the discipline ends. It's gone. I can't speak for myself through basic training because I never went through Army basic, so I don't know how it is in there. I do know, however, that it doesn't seem to be as hard as it needs to be. These kids come out with a decent amount of discipline and a fairly okay understanding, but the problem is the reason I call it the era of the self-entitled is because nowadays these young soldiers feel that they are entitled to everything. They are entitled to be spoken to a specific way. They're entitled to be able to do certain things just because they can, or just because they feel like they were able to get away with it in the past. You know, I gotta smile because all of you that are in the military right now, about to go through basic training, graduating basic training in AIT or whatever, let's just say you guys should be happy because the Army is starting to go back to what they should have stayed with all along. And that is that they're bringing drill sergeants back to AIT, or at least talking about it. Because, like I said, after boot camp or basic training, the discipline seems to have disappeared once they leave. Why is that? Let's just say that discipline, standards, things of that nature, they're enforced. Don't get me wrong. Discipline, standards, they are enforced. I'm living proof of that. You know? I used to have a 5 on that chest, and now I got a 4. I've got my own reasons as to why they were down there, and I won't say that the topic of this video is the reason for it. But there's a problem with today's youth and within today's Army. The problem is you guys are not entitled to anything. You're not. I'm not. Nobody in the military is entitled to anything. Get that through your head. You signed up in a volunteer-based corporation, because that's what the Army and the military is. Realistically, it's a corporation. But it's volunteer. 100% volunteer. As far as I know, they don't do the court-ordered service anymore. Maybe some states, but I don't believe that they do it anymore. If they did, I wouldn't be surprised. But at the same exact time, with today's Army, today's military, it would make no sense to continue it. Now, don't get me wrong, not all soldiers coming up nowadays are falling into that self-entitled category. Some of them are very good. Some of them earn what they deserve. But the majority of these soldiers nowadays, they feel like they can speak to an NCO or someone of higher rank any way they want to, just because they feel that they were spoken to in a wrong manner. They go crying to IG, threatening to do whatever. Look, people, it's not the Boy Scouts. It's not the Girl Scouts. You're not running around earning merit badges and selling cookies here, okay? You're not. You're trained to put rounds downrange. And if you can't do that, get out. If you can't handle it anymore, then stop wasting the government's time. Stop wasting the military's time. I'm leaving the military because I can no longer do what is required of me. Not just physically, but mentally. There's a difference. I would love to continue to do this and finish out what I started, but it's no longer an option for me. So for people like me who still do bleed red, white, and blue, veterans or active otherwise, to all of you young soldiers out there, I'm telling you right now, quit dicking up our military. Just knock it off. Because there's going to come a day that you're going to have to deploy, and someone next to you is going to have to trust you. That's just the cold hard truth. It's the way our government is nowadays. They like to throw billions of dollars out there for no reason to go fight a war. Just to try to prove that we're still relevant. We're still relevant. They don't need to go to war to prove that. But I'm warning all of you younger soldiers out there right now. You better wise up. Stop acting so self-entitled. Quit speaking to your NCOs the way you speak to them. Because you ain't doing anybody no favors, especially yourself. All you're doing is showing your rear end. That's all you're doing. And you won't get no sympathy from them. You won't get no sympathy from me. Because when the military decides, and believe me, they are starting, and they will, when they decide to start going back to some of the more traditional ways of training, like doing away with counselings and things of that nature, you are going to wish that it was still a paper military. So, my advice to you again, wise up. Be thankful for what the military has given you and what they will continue to give you. A lot of people have bad experiences, but that's them. That's theirs. Doesn't have to be yours. So stop making your experiences bad and stop giving the military a bad name.